there's a lot of cool stuff here.
It's just amazing, and it's such a nice environment.
In the reflection.
Oh, it's all right.
Several times now, and every time I just want to go and...
There you go, look, happy days. Isn't that lovely? And that's so much more sensible than the water-filled ones, isn't it?
The water-filled ones are such a pain.
They are. Yay, look
at
Yeah. My clever boy.
Do you know what, that was my favourite photo of all of them.
Hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Listening now.
Hello. Just before I start, we are getting some more chairs so that you will be able to sit. But the director here at University Hospitals Dorset, very privileged position to be in. And it's really lovely to welcome you all here today into the Beach Building. There's so many of you, and it's a really good encouragement that people are so interested.
We've already started work with 2 local artists about how we're going to do that. Picture when you come into the ward to start with, when you first come out the lift well, a reef scene that then takes you and
I'm Caroline, yes, and the lead play specialist for the play team at Broad Hospital, soon to move here in July. Lovely to see you all and great to be here. So what does a play specialist do? Because you don't necessarily come across them very often. And our remit, I'm a team of 5 of us, and we provide...
It's just absolutely wonderful to see so many people here so enthusiastic about supporting children and young people. As Debbie said, I'm Fiona Hignett, I'm a consultant paediatrician. By day, my job is to look after children clinically and young people, but I also have some extra time in my job and outside of my job. It feels all-consuming at the moment to help us prepare for this move over to Bournemouth in the summer. And I'm not here alone. I've got the lovely Jo Milton, who is the other half of my transformation co-pilot team. We've got Caroline, who's one of our hospital play specialists. We've got Matron at the back as well, and thank you for explaining why we're wearing hats. We're not just a bit peculiar. But we really wanted, the launch is happening on both sites, and we will always care for children on both sites. But come the summer, the predominant care all the care for inpatient children will be here, but we'll remain having outpatient care in pools. So we wanted to make sure both sites were included, and I think the ward's going to look amazing today because everyone's wearing a hat. Thanks so much for the first slide. Now, bear with me. I've put some ingredients up here, a selection of baking ingredients that Mary Berry would be proud of. Does anyone like to guess, if I put all these ingredients together, what we might make? Cake. Any particular kind of cake? Chocolate cake, the best kind of cake there is. Thanks, next slide. I have a very sweet tooth, and I was trying to think about how, we've said the statutory requirements of the NHS. What does that mean? So I'd like you to think of this 4th floor here as the yummiest, moist, delicious looking chocolate cake you can imagine. We've been gifted this amazing space, and it's been designed, all the ingredients have been brought together to design a purpose-built space for children and young people, which is just going to be transformatory, both for children, young people, their families, and for those of us who work in the space. And this is a delicious looking chocolate cake. And if we follow Mary Berry's recipe correctly, there'll be no soggy bottoms and it'll be delicious. Perfect. So I'd like you to bear in mind that chocolate cake as I fly you through what the ward looks like, and you'll get an opportunity to look at the ward in detail with us when we take you on some tours in a minute. Thank you. Next slide. I did this in the summer and I said, we must have a better way of doing the next slide. But anyway, we're in COVID era. So this is our ward, and I put a picture of a reef up here because the whole concept for our ward is actually it's going to be ocean themed, and the whole ward as a whole on the 4th floor is going to be the reef. And within that, there's different zones of the ward that are going to have slightly different characters and ideas, so different ocean creatures like dolphins and seahorses, but together we are the reef. And I'd just like you to picture, if you're a parent or grandparent or you're a young person, there's 3 ways really that you can come into the hospital to see us in children's inpatients. The first is you might present downstairs to our ED, and that's so lovely to see that incredible space. I'm quite jealous actually, I'm looking forward to what we might be able to achieve up here. The second is you might come in through your GP. And the third is we actually look after a lot of young people with complex medical needs who have open access to us directly. They phone us up and they come in and see us. So those are the 3 ways that a child might present to the inpatient unit here in the Beach. And more often than not, the first place they encounter is actually the children's assessment unit. And the Children's Assessment Unit here has just got so much more space than we're used to at the moment, and it's incredible. So a child will come in, a nurse will greet them, and they'll be taken into one of 2 triage rooms, which is really exciting because at the moment we only have 1 triage room, and that's a very busy room. So now we have 2, which means we'll be able to see patients more promptly, we'll be able to assess them more promptly, and then we'll be able to decide what happens to them next. So once they've had an assessment and they've had some observations, the nurses will decide whether actually they're well enough to wait in our play space, in our waiting room, which at the moment is a completely blank canvas, and that is an area we would love your support with. Much like the ED waiting area, you've heard how transformatory it can be to have a really engaging child and young people friendly space. But sometimes a child might be more unwell and they'll need to go straight into a bed space, and we have 9 or 10? 9, thank you, Joe. We have 9 bed spaces, most of which are side rooms, which is fantastic because, as you imagine, a lot of children have infections, and we have to think about caring for those in the right way. And also, all of those rooms have ensuite toilet facilities, particularly important. We will get the tummy bugs more than once a year. So the ability to have privacy and dignity is just absolutely brilliant. Sometimes children are more unwell than that, and they might need higher level care. So one of the designs which I'm really excited about is that our Children's Assessment Unit, which is a very busy area for us, is now co-located with our Children's High Dependency Unit, which is also a busy area for us and is where our most unwell patients live. In Poole at the moment, those areas are as far away as they can be, which makes shifts quite difficult, particularly out of hours. So that's really fantastic in the design. And in those spaces, we've got 4 regionally accredited beds to look after higher care patients. We're lucky in that respect because not many hospitals in that region do. But that means we can look after additional needs such as extra support with breathing or more complex patients. An amazing design in one of those rooms is that we've got inbuilt hoists into the ceiling because we look after a lot of complex care needs. And previously that's been a bit of a challenge with mobile hoists, so that's going to be really, really helpful. Now, once a child or a young person is better, we tend to step them down from HDU into our inpatient wards. This is an amazing space. We were just talking at the back about the space that we have. It makes you think about how you're quite used to working in quite a confined, restricted space. Because all of this has been built to at least minimum, if not more, specifications. So all of the ward spaces, all of the individual side rooms are absolutely enormous. And that's important for a variety of reasons. One, it means people have the space where they can rest, recover and recuperate. But 2, I can't tell you how important it is for children and young people that they have their family and their loved ones here with them. And by having that more space, we're going to be able to have proper pull-down bed support for parents to stay with their children in most of the rooms, aren't we, Joe? It's just so important that they're there together. Another really fantastic part, and we do have this in Poole at the moment, but this is an even bigger space, and I know Charlotte and Sophie's legacy team find this extremely important, is making sure that children and their families are well nourished when they're in hospital. Being in hospital is a bit weird, isn't it? Children often don't want to eat when they're really unwell. But as they're recovering, we need to get them back into that frame of actually it's important that we eat together. And we all eat together better if we do that as a family. So we have a bespoke kitchen and dining room space that is a complete blank canvas at the moment. That we'd like to kit out to be much more homely, much less clinical, so that it encourages recovery and allows families to be together, because lots of our families have siblings that come and visit. It can be a bit difficult going into a clinical environment in their bed space, but having these other spaces where families can be together to help the recovery and make the recovery quicker is really important. The ward space also has a zone that is more likely going to be used for our young people. So there's a 4-bedded bay, and we recognise that young people, perhaps if they've had an orthopaedic operation or a surgical operation, might like some camaraderie of being together with children or young people of their own age. So we have that space, and we also have additional rooms that can support the care of those young people who may be suffering from mental health crisis. So they've been purposefully designed to support them with that. And other ways that we can support them, we've heard a lot about already, and I know, again, important for all of the families that are here representing today, is about recreation, play, and this amazing balcony space that we have here. So there's something that exists called the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, which some of you may have heard me speak about before if you were here in the late summer. And it's an amazing piece of work that nearly every country in the world has signed up to, and I like to think that we are very much aligned with the ethos of that. My favourite article from that is Article 31, and that says that every child has a fundamental right to rest, leisure and play. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't matter if you're in a war zone, in your local environment, in a park or in a hospital. It's so crucially important that children have the opportunity to play. We use play in a variety of ways, and Caroline will speak about that just now. But if a child is more prepared, more supported, their stay with us will be so much better. And this is a space here that we'd love to work on. We also have an amazing schoolroom next door. You might not think a schoolroom in a hospital, that's a bit odd. But again, back to the UN Articles of Rights of a Child, Articles 28 and 29 all talk about education, and that every child has a right to an education that develops their personality, talents and ability. And that doesn't stop when you're in hospital. If you're well enough, we will support you going through with your education. And some of our young people are with us for days or weeks at a time, so it's really important that we can do that. We're so grateful that support has already started to kit out our schoolroom. We're also really fortunate to have another incredible space, which sometimes feels a bit difficult to talk about, but we're supported by Gully's charity with Gully Space. And that's an area where we look after a variety of different things, but largely around palliative care and end-of-life care for children and their families, and also in instances, sadly, when a child has died, we support and look after bereaved families there. And the Gullies charity will be supporting us in making that a much more homely, soft, comforting space, so that we can continue the important work of that space. And last but not least, we have a children's daycare unit, which again, at the moment in Poole is very far away and a bit tricky to get to, but it's much more embedded within the centre of the department. And children there will come in for the day to have maybe an operation or a medical procedure, and then go home on the same day. Fab. So that is a summary of our chocolate cake. I think it's pretty good to say that it's a pretty good looking chocolate cake, and you would have already seen from looking around how important that is. Thank you, next slide. So there we go, and next slide again. But I don't know about you, but I really like a bit of extras on my chocolate cake. And that's really what we're here to do with this whole campaign. It's about putting the icing on the cake. It's about putting that yummy gooey jam in the middle, and making this the very, very best it can be. And if you ask any of the child health staff, we can tell you all of our ideas, but we recognise it's so important that actually children and families have their say. Thank you, next slide. So we've been running all sorts of events, and this is just a few pictures of a family and engagement group event we ran just before Christmas, where we had about 20 or 30 children and families in the space, looking at it as it is now, and sharing with us their ideas of what they love. Thank you. And you'll see this actually up on the wall. We asked them lots of questions. And just to summarise some of the things they've said. We'd love, a lot of it is about making this more homely and less clinical. So blankets, softer furnishings, again here about the communal eating area for children and families, maximising natural light, thinking about chairs for parents that are comfortable or spaces for them to sleep. A massive amount about...
Hi Archie, thanks for coming today as we launch our new campaign for the children's unit that will be opening in Bournemouth's new beach building in the summer. So Archie, we want to improve and raise funds for the extras that can make the new children's unit that bit more special for children and young people. We don't want to spend money on the things that we think are important. We want to hear it from children and young people like you. So, Archie, what would make hospital feel a little bit more comforting for you?
For me, I'd probably say, since I like to play games a lot, I'd probably say something like a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or something like that. I like to play video games a lot, so that would make it